September 18th, 2021, I went to Rick Allen's local Monahan comedy show. It was kind of him to offer me a pass to get in, so I attended. Now, this morning, today is September 18th, 2021. It's Benjamin's 22nd birthday. And on the TV this morning, there is a blurb about Boston. And I'm looking at Boston, I'm like, wow, with Nucci, I'm like, they're talking about the 1700s, the 1600s, and I'm like, and then I'm looking at the older buildings and the newer buildings. I was like, if none of the newer developments ever happened in Boston, we'd be in such a greater place. I was like, look how beautiful Boston was before all of this new recent developments and all this new modern humanness. I'm also trying to sit here and optically resolution what they're saying with Boston. They say there's something. Now, I'm not into baseball, so I know that there's a big thing between the Yankees and the Red Sox. It eludes me, but I'm in some kind of Met or Yankee territory in New York, but I don't watch baseball or know anything about it. And Fenway being Boston. Now, but I am quirky. Quirky. So I turn it on, and it says that there's a green CSEA, and there's one red chair, and the coordinates is 42, 37, 21, which just doesn't sit right with me. It's one red chair, but the coordinates are off. Like, they don't make sense. They're not correctly aligned, especially with where I am in year 2021, for sure.
And photos. See if you can spot any of the Red Sox legends, like Ted Williams.
I don't know these names.
The ballpark is also known for many quirks, like its famous red seat in the Sea of Green. Section 42, row 37, seat 21 marks the spot where a home run landed that was hit by Hall of Famer Ted Williams. If you don't know much about the Boston Red Sox, well, this is your chance to learn. Here you can get an in-depth look at this storied franchise and much more cool
Story franchise. Now, what was really interesting is when I went to the comedy show last night, there was a gentleman by the name of Steve and some famous last name of some touring company called Perillo. He said that, but then he also said Rocco at one point. But anyway, so he had on, he called it goth, but it was a black long trench coat, and eyeliner, and I don't know the name of the thing on the head that covers the bald head. If that's, is that a gator? Or gator's the one that goes around here. I don't know, skull cap, I don't know, whatever but he called himself, he referred to himself as a pirate, which I thought was amusing. So to have like that kind of vernacular. And then he said some interesting things. He said he's Albanian, and I'm like, And then he said he was, because he had a beautiful nose. I noticed his nose right away. And he said that he was Albanian. He said that they were the original gypsies. He said something about the Holocaust, and they were a nomadic tribe, and then something happened with the Holocaust. But I can't get like real stuff here. I was talking to Linda about this yesterday. I'm like, I was sitting right on this couch, and I'm like, and on The View, it said they said something about Trump and some press conference that Trump had with Fauci. And I'm like, where the heck was I? Like, I mean, I was out in that time period, I was out in Suffolk County, but it didn't register on my TV. Like, I don't know if it was Comcast that I had back then, but they weren't broadcasting anything Department of Homeland Security, nothing presidential. Like, there would be little blurbs of it on the network news, but nothing ever that in storyline, none of it ever makes sense. And so Holocaust, I've seen some BBC black and white, whatever, but it's very confusing. And then, like with Biden, I hear that he's the president. I see pictures of him being president. Don't know what that means. And I also don't ever know where to search for what he's working on or the agenda or anything along those lines. And there's no broadcast of like a Department of Homeland Security, what they're working on, what we should be aware of, what might be happening. There's no outlet for any of that in New York. I'm in Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361 now. But even when I was out on Long Island, there was no update of any of this stuff to prepare us or to even inform us. And there's certainly no participation whatsoever. Let me think about this. And that's part of that isolation. Oh, and then I was reading about thermodynamics and the second law of thermodynamics, and they said that if you have a box of coins and you violently shake those box of coins, half of the coins would be face up and half would be face down. And I'm like, now that's interesting. Now if I take the theoretical, since they have a practical application to it, and I put it to the machine being turned on and off, why is it every time the machine goes off and turns back on, I'm in like a face down position and getting worse and more dangerous? I mean, even at a basic statistics or statistician, forget superstition, but even at a basic statistician, there should be some form of half up, half down, like in timing mechanics and in like placement. But there's then something called time crystal, which what I would say in practical application would be the document of the journey, because it moves in, it's the only exception to the rule in colloquial urbanite. It's the one that defies thermodynamics, and that would be where my position is in universal speak. And then I'm thinking of time encapsulate for the transition of multiple observatories. And that's what was working through my mind last night when I met the Albanian man. But he's younger than I am. I think he said he was 33. I'm 43. So then afterwards I asked him, I said, now I'm just curious. I was like, how did you find out about this gypsy thing and that you are for sure Albanian? And he said, yes, my family. I said, right. I said, I don't have that luxury. I said, I have a father. My grandfather passed away, and I have my father who does an only child. I'm an only child. And my mom's not the Albanian side. She's something totally different. I was like, so that's interesting. I was like, so is there like a research place that you can go? And then he said to do the blood test, which I said I did. But that's not where it came up. It said something like Western Central Europe. And so I told him direct last night. I was very interested in him. He was a very nice person. And then I thanked him for his time. And then I left because they were closing the bar, Monahan's bar. But we were in an upstairs room for, I think they used to call it Grim Satire, Grimsatire. I have to think about this. But he's not the only, and then I have the documents downstairs that mentions Albania. Anything more on the thermodynamics? No, I'm alright with thermodynamics and quark at the moment. In being able to decipher how to explain the matrix machine and the moving of the machine into throughout the brokenness. I don't have access to machines or anything. I say, radioactively, this field is supercharged in superstition. I don't have access to the legends of superstition, but it's supercharged in electricity and it's messing with the electrolytes inside the blood. I call it plasmatic. But I was also mentioning last night, I'm like, because another gentleman had asked me what I did, and I said, I don't do much at this point. I've just noticed the weather pattern or like the acclimate of what's going on, the pressure system around me best I can. I said, because there's no official that I'm aware of. I will go to NYPD, I go to FDNY. There's no official reporting agency local to tell you what the weather is, what the metrics are, so I can accurately field document what my body machina is feeling for the day, so I can keep an accurate metric log of my own, for my own personal health and safety at physician's level. They don't allow such things. I don't know why. I don't know who's in charge of that, but they don't give us the pressure of the weather systems in an actual what it is around here, and I don't know the tools or how to read them, to read my own and study it that way, and I don't know who to seek out for that type of thing. But I said to the gentleman at the comedy show last night, I said, there's an extrinsic pressure system that it seems like everybody within my life frame always says it's an intrinsic body machine problem, like your heart's not pumping right, you've got diverticulitis, so you're swelling, or you've got thrombosis and your blood's stacking and coagulating in weird ways. It's like, right, I get that that's the intrinsic problem with the body machina, but everything, it doesn't just happen on its own like that. There is an extrinsic sensory organ that if it's not fixed or paid attention to in relation, the extrinsic degradation of science affects the internal and intrinsic body machina and the way that you are performing like a machine. So the extrinsic is where I need to turn to in order to figure out why my legs are not electrolyting properly, the blood flow is not proper, I have swelling, I have adipose tissue accumulating, and same thing with the girth in my midriff at the moment, because I'm having so many problems with my legs. It's almost like the static charge is accumulating like a puffiness around the center, almost like a larger center of gravity, because the gravity is so off in the point of contention for where I am and where my body is being abused. but by physics. So I'm having trouble figuring out the extrinsic value daily so I can properly metric biomatrix it and write it in a hand journal, because I don't know the tools that I need. And I don't, even if I had the tools, I wouldn't know how to read them without some form of training. And but I have been on video log documenting physically the intrinsic changes that I can see and that I have in a sensation. The unknown is still held within an extrinsic value just outside my visible spectrum. So I'm star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. That's my born identity. And I'm in Bayside, state of New York, 11361. And today is September 18th, 2021. Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is still broken.